with a little valley in between, so we stopped here and let the other ones, you know, get up. You don't want to be stuck in the valley, okay? So we stopped here, and then when they got up the valley, they stopped there, and we're sitting there smoking cigarettes, and here comes two NVA down the trail. Well, there's the first one. I shot him in the head, and Hawk says he shot him. And to be honest with you, there was probably 3 or 4 people that shot him. You know what I mean? Because once the bullet started, where they shooting at? Oh, I see. You know, so everybody probably shot him. But I did shoot him in the head because he had a hole right here, and that's where I was aiming. But anyway, there was another one, and I think maybe, I don't know if Hawk shot him or one of the guys behind him shot him. I don't know, but it was all of a sudden it was a hell of a bang bang there for a minute, and Hawk threw a grenade in, and he just lobs this grenade up. It hits a tree, and it's bouncing down the tree back at me, you know, and he's body a grenade. I'm going, oh shit! And I got behind my rucksack, boom, it went off, and I said, I'll tell you what, I got some grenades too, so I popped my rucksack thing open. I thought the NVA threw it. Okay, so I popped one and just slung one in between the trees. You know, Hawk was trying to get over it, you know, and it blew up, and they ceasefire. You know, Hawk came on, he says, sorry about that grenade, Baldy. I said, that was yours? He said, yeah. I said, well, goddamn. He said, I was just trying to lob it. I said, don't lob it, throw it, man. Yeah, he cut me a lot of slack. Because I asked him one time, I said, why do you ask me things? And he said, and it was simple for him. He said, because you've been here longer than I have. And that was the only explanation I got, so that was it. But then everything quieted down, you know, and then we checked them out, which is a horrible part. I checked out the guy that I had shot. He didn't have anything on him except what I had on me. He had pictures of home, letters from home. You know, it's like I was searching myself. And he had big feet, so I took his sandals. He had a dollar bill. I took that. I knew he couldn't spend it. You know, I don't know what, I don't even know what you're supposed to think during that, but that's how we thought, you know. And the other guy was all tore up, and we got on our way again. That was the 20th, and then on the 21st, yeah, we ran into a landline. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And this is what my first squad leader told me way back when. He says, now you're gonna run across the NVA, and he says, they're gonna run from you, and maybe you're not gonna be able to find anybody you shot, or they shoot at you and disappear, and da. But he said, when they want you, they will come for you. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, oh my God, here it is. You know, I said, we never saw a landline before, man. I said, hell, they own this place. You know, that's ownership. The landline is the ownership. We were fortunate. We had a E6 from the South Vietnamese Army, Long, Sergeant Long. And we stripped the wires and put a handset of radio on there so he could listen in. And he told us that they had three regiments in position to attack Ripcord, and they were waiting on reinforcements. And we were going, oh shit, yeah, you know. And we got that sent in. I don't know if the secure set was working then. You know, we got a secure set when you turn it on, you can just talk on it, right? And, or, seems like we had to write a message. We got SOI pads so we can write a short message to send up, and unless you got the code, you can't, you know, you can't pick it up. But anyway, we told them, and I guess Black Spade suggested that we get a prisoner so we can verify this information we got. And Hawk looked at me like, wow, you know, and I'm going, God, Hawk, we're gonna be lucky if we prisoners are dead. He said, I know, Baldy. He said, listen, well, don't worry about that. He said, if it comes up, it happens. If it don't happen, forget about it, you know? So we moved on, and 3rd Platoon got in contact, and they actually, I don't know if it seems like to me they shot two more, okay? And one of them was still alive. So I'm on the horn, I'm with Tim Ryan, he was their squad leader. I said, Tim, is he alive? He said, well, yeah, he's alive. I said, well, put Doc on. And Doc got on, and I said, Doc, what can you do? He said, I'm not a fucking brain surgeon. He said, I'm holding the guy's brains in his head with my hands. He said, I can't do anything with him. So I said, well, put Tim back on. Tim got back on. I said, you still got that 45, Tim? Yeah. I said, well, you might as well put him out of his misery, man, you know? And because we got to move on. And a shot rang out, and we went on. So that was the end of us catching a prisoner. So then we set an ambush on the that happened. First we set an ambush on the landline because the people said that it wasn't as clear as it was, and they were getting some fuzz in it, so we thought the thing was interfering with it. And they sent some down. They ambushed them with AK-47s to pay them back for ambushing us with M16s and M60s in May. So we ambushed them with their own stuff. They killed one. They had a real bloody trail that they followed, but they never found him. And at the time, another NVA came down to the stream that was kind of behind us to fill up canteens. Well, one of the M79 guys saw him down there, and foop, boom, and he was gone. But it was like, you know, how many NVA are out here? Where'd this guy come from? He's getting water, you know? And these guys are coming down to check the line. Anyway, that's when we left, and that's when they got in that other thing where they had the guy alive, and they had to shoot him because, you know, Doc couldn't fix him. And then we kind of hesitated a little bit, and in the dark, we had a squad or two move down to another spot, and then after it got dark, we all quietly moved down to where they were. We didn't, you know, we moved twice so they wouldn't, hopefully they wouldn't know. And but they knew anyway. Anyway, I was watching that night. I saw flashlights, and I woke Captain up. I said, they got a flashlight. I said, I don't know what they're, you know, I don't know if they're setting water tubes. I don't know, you know. He said, don't worry about it, Baldy. He says, we're going to do just exactly what we did the other day. He says, I'm going to get them up. We're going to get everybody up early. He says, I'm going to send 1st Platoon out. There's an LZ that we're going to go to, and that's where we're going to get out from. So I'm going to send them up there, and when they get halfway to the LZ, the rest of us will meet them up there, and then they'll go on and secure the LZ, you know, and he said it'll be just like it was the other day. if we won't be here when they come, we won't be here. I said, oh, sounds good. Sounds good to me, you know, and it worked. And we sent platoon out, and then we got a message. So Hawk says, well, Black Spade wants us to go back to Ripcord. And I said, wow, how are we going to do that? I said, we can't go this way, you know, the way we came. He says, I know. He says, but it's an order. He's, you know, and he says, oh, and he tried to get in touch with him, okay, to tell him what he was going to do, you know, or what he wanted to do. And when we called the radio, when we called the fire base, Black Spade wasn't there anymore. He went to the rear for a meeting or something because they were discussing on, you know, closing Ripcord, and he wasn't there. And so Hawk called the other platoon back, which, you know, now we're eating time. Okay, this platoon's got to come back. We got to wait for them to come back. They've got to rest because they just got through, you know. So, and then we start Lee in 2nd platoon. We start him headed back to Ripcord. Instead of going up like this, we're going to try to go straight across the valley to Ripcord, which was, it was something that wasn't going to happen, man. It wasn't going to happen. We were almost 2 clicks away from Ripcord. And we didn't start until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no way we were going to walk 2 clicks and before it got dark. Would have been possible. Even though well, that's only 2,000 meters, but when it's, yeah. And we were in line, which was a good thing. That was the only good thing. That was the best thing that was to our advantage. Instead of being in a round perimeter, we were in a line. So all of us were facing the way that they were coming. You know, there was no, they couldn't flank us. They couldn't flank us because we weren't a circling line. We were a linear line. And I heard some mortar tubes going off, and I thought, maybe I better call the fire base, you know, because I told you I used to call them. And then I'm thinking, ah, damn, those are awful close. And about the time I got that out of my head, the tops of the trees started blowing up because they were mortaring us. And then Lee's platoon gets hit. They get ambushed, and we're there. And Hawk pointed to the top of the next little hill. It went up and then kind of came a little quick downhill so that when you made the crest, you had the top of the hill almost like for cover, you know, to shoot down from. So he said, we'll meet over there. So we hauled ass over there, and I found a nice big tree that looked like it would suit us well. And Hawk swears he beat me over there, but he didn't. He didn't beat me over there, I guarantee you. So we got there, and then they attacked to try to flank them. Okay, they couldn't flank the 2nd platoon. God, those guys, man. I mean, they had this one guy. They were coming down the trail, and this one guy had an M60, and he's just killing them. And they're still coming down the trail because it's thin. It's like a little finger, and the path, I'm not kidding, wasn't any wider than that. And then it dropped off on both sides. So the easiest way to get to them would be coming down the trail. So they kept coming down the trail, and he just kept killing them. He just kept and they kept coming down the trail. And then when they started going to the sides, he started throwing grenades at them. The man was, I mean, I read what Lee wrote about it, and Lee said he couldn't help it. But he said, I found myself just watching the guy because he was, you know, it was like he was magnificent. You know, he was just killing the hell out of them. And he tried to get behind a tree. They threw a satchel charge on him, and you know, he had a little bit of himself hidden from it. And when the satchel charge went off, it blew his shirt off, and he still blew his shirt off and messed his ears up, and he's still shooting them, you know. And then on the other side, 3rd Platoon was over there with, I forget the guy's name, and Webster. It was a guy that came from another battalion of the 101st, and they put him in our company, and they fought like animals. They wouldn't let them get around. They wouldn't let them get around. They wouldn't let them get around. And we couldn't get in touch with anybody because Lee's radio had been shot up. And so, you know, we got, Tim Ryan was up here with an M60, and Jody was over here, and a few more other stragglers, you know, were up here. And we're in a real good place. We're in a good place. They're trying to come up the hill at us, and we're just killing them and killing them and killing them because it's too much for them to get up the hill. And Hawk's talking to Jets and Cobras.
So he's got the radio.
No, I got the radio.
Okay.
He's got the horn. He's right up in front of me, and he's talking to him.
So he was carrying one radio, and you were carrying one radio.
No. He's just got the hand mic.
Because you said that his radio was broken or shot up.
Yeah, Lee's was.
Okay, Lee's radio. Yeah, Lee's radio. That platoon had trouble with their radios.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and we couldn't get them.
Yeah.
So we had to, you know, you have to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And there was no. Hawk was kind of waiting for the artillery to start up because we had a FO with us.
Yeah.
But neither one of us knew that the FO was dead. So he didn't want to call for artillery thinking that the FO would probably be going to do it. So instead he called in Cobras, and he got the Cobras online, and then he called in Jets and got the Jets online. And the first set of Jets had 500-pound bombs. So they absolutely could not drop it where you wanted it dropped.
Yeah.
And they said, have you got some, and this is crazy too, I mean, right in the middle of a, but anyway, he said, yeah, he gave them a grid coordinate to go drop the 500-pounders. And they got secondary explosions from it. And then he called in another group, and these guys had got 250-pound bombs. And one of the guys flying it is Nosehawk. He's a friend of his. And he says, man, we gotta have this danger close. And he said, we can't do it. And he threw as he did, he'd say, here, Baldy, and he'd flip me the mic. He'd say, I got some more targets up here. And he'd lay down and shoot some more, you know. And I'm talking to the guy. I said, we gotta have it. We gotta have it danger close. We got to have it. And he said, well, I said, I'm just telling you what he said. We gotta have it. And all of a sudden he screams in the mic, look out, it just fell off. And I'm going, what the hell? And so I hollered, look out, you know, and we all got down. And when that bomb hit, man, it blacked out the sun. I mean, it was just black. And dirt chunks and big tree chunks and shit was just flying through the air. And none of us in Alpha Company, none of us got wounded at all from that bomb. But it broke their back. And I talked to a guy a couple days later after that. Couldn't talk to him that night because his concussion was so bad. He was drooling. You know, he couldn't put 3 words together. And I talked to him a couple of days after that, and he said, yeah, he says, I was in the front. And he said, I just got over the top of that hill. And he said, I saw the bomb coming through the trees. And he said, I'm pretty sure it landed right where the mortars were. And he said, all I did was just fall backwards off that hill so I wouldn't get blowed up, you know. So it believe it or not, it fell in the perfect spot. Somehow. How does that thing happen? You know? And it must have wiped out their CP too, their commands, because after that, they were running from us. Or else they thought, boy, them crazy son of a bitches are gonna blow themselves up. Let's get the hell away from them. I don't know what they thought, but all I know is they ran. That broke their morale. And it might have been, a couple of minutes before the bomb dropped that we finally got in touch with Lee.
Yeah.
And then when Lee moved in from there, you know, and then the bomb came down, he said he couldn't believe it. He said everything was cut off at 8 feet. There was nothing out there that was over 8 feet. And the other bomb, see, he dropped two. The other bomb was stuck in the side of the hill. It didn't go off. The only bomb that went off was the one that could help us.
Right.
And this one didn't.
Okay. So now, about what time is it, do you think? Because it was an afternoon fight.
It must have been between 4:30 and 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once it quiets down, what do you do?
Well, we moved on down. You know, after the bomb went off. We moved on down to see if there was anybody else up there, and so we took our NDP site back, the one we had the night before, our night perimeter. We took it back, and the guy that was on my right, we were moving through, you know, you gotta get past the perimeter, and he was over there, and we had a gunship coming in, and it's just one of those accidental things that happen in war. The Cobra killed a guy that I was with over here, you know. We were 15, 20 feet apart anyway, but he shot him up so bad, man. He was still getting hit, and he couldn't even fall to the ground. The bullets were like holding him up. You know, he got hit with so many. And, you know, Hawk told the chopper to back off, and, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I don't even know if he was listed like that or not. All I'm telling you is what I saw. I saw what happened, and that's what happened. And we got our perimeter back.
Did you try to get medevacs in, or?
No, we were in a horrible place, man. I don't even know if they would have dropped a jungle penetrator in there. Plus it was getting dark.
Okay. Yeah.
It was getting darker at all the time. So we basically just kind of reconsolidated, and then the last shot of the day, and we do the same thing when we leave an area. You know, you leave a machine gun back in case anybody's following you. The machine gun can take care of them.
Yeah.
Even though we weren't following them, we got machine gun fire that shot Rick. Can't remember his last name right now, man, but he was really a nice guy. He's from Colorado. Just a handsome young kid, man. And he was shot. And I asked somebody, I said, somebody get a hold of Bosco. his friend.
Mhm.
And so we were, you know, we had watch on if anything else was gonna happen, right? And Bosco came and he went over there. We got the medic to come down, and I thought, and that he just had a sucking chest wound, you know, so you put something plastic over it and then you bandage it and cover it up so that air can't get, you know, so it won't suck air in that hole, like patching your lung, you know. But what really happened was the bullet went through him and injured his spine, and he was crippled for the rest of his life from that. But he was the last one. He was the last one to get hit. And then as it got a little darker, there was a little commotion over here to the left, you know. And so I got up and went over there, and it was Floyd. I called him Big Al. I didn't even know his name was Floyd Alexander.
Right.
He came up, and he had been laying on Sergeant Wagner to keep the they were playing dead to keep the NVA from killing him. And he came up, you know, after it was starting to get dusky dark, you know, and that was happy, man. You know, we were glad to see that he was still alive.
Yeah.
And Hawk was busy calling in flare ship, and he called me. I went over there, and he says, "You're gonna have to do this, Baldy." He said he was wounded in the throat. He'd gotten hit 2 or 3 times by different shrapnel. We both got shrapnel from an RPG round that struck, and I didn't even tell you that. When we got the initial mortar rounds, we ran to the top of the hill. Okay, that helped us for a while, and then they do the same thing we do for their artillery. If they're going to rush you, they add length to the artillery so that if you try to go back further, you know, it can still be useful, or there's a wall there, you can't go back no further than that, or whatever you want to do it. And so now they started hitting around the tree we were at, and we went over to the right. All this is happening quick, and it ain't taking long. You know, we went down to the right a little bit, and I put a long pole up because I didn't want to lose communication.
Right.
Okay, yeah. And as soon as I did that, here comes an RPG round, and part of that hit Hawk, another RTO, and me. It blew me down the hill. When I stopped rolling and hit, I was down the hill. I could feel something on my back. I reached back. I had some blood. Everything moved. So I got up and went back up. And first thing I did was take the long pole down. and then we moved. Then we moved back over to where we were because the mortar barrage from them had stopped because they were coming for the rush at that time. Yeah. And da.
So you got into nighttime basically.
Yeah, nighttime. And I went to, Hawk called me over there, that's right. And he said, "Can you call?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do that, man." I said, "Look, sleep. Sleep, I'll take care of this, sleep." And he grabbed me and he hugged me. And he said, "Baldy, all I wanted to do was take care of my company." I said, "You did, sir. You did. Maybe not as what you wanted to, but I said, you did take care of it, because we're still alive." So I went out and tried to keep them from getting too far off target, but it was so eerie. Those
Flares.
those flares rolling around, and you know, it was real thick vegetation where we were at, and you got the shadows streaking, you know, and all of that stuff, and oh God, what a night, man, what a night. I didn't think, well, actually I did think I was gonna get out. I just didn't know how. And we found out that Delta Company was gonna come, and they were supposed to come. They tried to come the night before, and they couldn't get in, and that was very disappointing. But we do wait for the morning light, and the morning light, they landed in a, they landed getting fire from that LZ. They got shot at while they come in for the landing of that, because Sergeant Skinner got injured, and they had to put him back on one of the choppers to send him back. They got together and moved down. One guy hit a booby trap. I think it blew his foot off, or part of his leg too. And they left one guy with him, and I'm assuming he took one of the helicopters that the rest of them were on, and they ran down the trail, man, ran. Because I talked to many of them, and I talked to the guy that was like fourth from the end, and I said, what about this run you make? I said, how was that? He said, let me tell you something, Baldy. He said, I almost had to run all out just to see the guy in front of me, which is, you know, that's not the way we do it, but this was a different thing altogether. Plus they had well, damn. Boy, now I can't think of his name. Hell, I'll think of it. He was in a Loach.
Fred Spalding.
Fred Spalding, yes sir. He was in a Loach. I talked to him on the phone. I said, well, Fred, what the hell was you doing, man? He says, Baldy, I looked down. He said, I could see gooks everywhere. He said, I took my hat off and stuck my head out and said, y'all are going to have to cease and desist. I laughed like hell, but I wouldn't doubt if he really didn't do that. No shit. Because he's, hell, Fred was in Vietnam for like 5 or 6 years, man.
He had several tours, yeah.
Yeah, he had been like everything.
And Rangers and
platoon leader, company captain, platoon sergeant. He was a Mustanger. Yeah. But
so they got to you.
Yeah. So they got to us, Delta. When Freddie got down to where all the bodies were, he stopped, which was a good thing, because he told his CO, he said, look, you gotta call them and tell them I'm coming, because if I bust through these leads, he said, these guys will shoot the hell out of me, you know. So they called, and how far are you? Where you at, you know? So I think Hawk or Rollison one shot off a shot. Can you hear that? Yeah. And so the other one shot off a shot. Yeah, but I still can't tell where it's from, because it was so dense and echoey, you know. So Hawk just told him, just follow the dead bodies. We're at the end of the dead bodies. And it was the truth. It was just, you know, kind of ugly as hell, but it was the truth.
Yeah.
And they got there, and they went to work right away, man. They went to work right away. Rollison called for some jets, and they dropped bombs all around us. And they were close enough that some of the shrapnel actually came through the trees and hit around us a little bit, you know. And then they blew an LZ. I sure took pictures of this LZ. Like I told you, I know I blew at least 10, but I blew them in places where you should blow LZs, okay? This was not a great place. It wasn't flat, you know, it was like downhill. So they blew it, and this side, the side that was flat, to make up for this side not being flat, they blew the trees so they would fall down, so it would be flat. And I'm looking at that and I'm going, who the hell blew this? And I've asked Freddie, he didn't know, but I've asked some of them guys, I said, God, did y'all bring any engineers with you or something? I'm telling you, man, it looked like they hand laid them logs down there. You know, it was a little more rustic than that, but it made the LC.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they started, they brought them in.
Mm-hmm.
And got our wounded out,
Mm-hmm.
got our dead out, got us out, and got themselves out. And this LZ, to get down to it, it looked like an elevator shaft. The helicopter had to stop and go straight down and go straight up. And I want somebody to tell me how we could be in contact on the 19th, the 20th, the 22nd, or the 21st, and the 22nd, and we didn't fire a shot on the 23rd. How's that
So
possible?
you were all getting ready to hit Ripcord, and Ripcord evacuation was taking a lot
Yeah.
of their fire. So all the guns that might have fired on the helicopters were over there instead, and they probably figured they'd finished you guys off. I don't know.
Yeah. It's just that, I mean, talk about an evacuation and a rescue system. Every part of it worked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it actually worked. I mean, the evacuation of Ripcord is the most successful evacuation of a fire base in helicopter history. In helicopter history. And he got us all out.
Yeah.
We basically thank God for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to think of God wanting other people to die so we could live. I don't know quite what to do with that, but so many things happen that seem to be coincidental.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to have that many coincidences. We got 2 bombs dropped. One didn't go off and one did. And one that did helped us, and the one that didn't would have probably killed 10, at least 10 more of us if it would have gone off. Just weird stuff
Yeah.
like that. You think, how can that happen? But everything worked. Everything worked, and I'm still here, and I like it.
All right. So now you get back to Evans.
Yeah.
Now what happens?
Okay, we got back to Evans. I went to the doctor. They took an x-ray of my back down at Fubai.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy said, you have some shrapnel in your back. And he says, if I try to take it out, it'll probably do you more damage than if we just leave it in there. So we're just gonna leave it in there, and you get 1 day bed rest. So, and then we went back to Evans, and I think it was the next day that they had the ceremony, where they had Bill Heath has got all the pictures of the ceremony.
Right.
And I was looking at them at our 40th reunion, and I asked him, I said, what the hell is this? And he says, that's that ceremony they had after you guys came in. I said, what ceremony? He said, you don't remember that? I said, no. I said, was I there? And he said, yeah, you were there. And I promise you, I remember, I've looked at the pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and I have no recognition of that whatsoever. And it bothered me so bad that at the 40th reunion in Fort Worth, I went downstairs early the next day because I knew Hawk liked to eat breakfast early, you know. So I went down there and caught him in the restaurant eating breakfast. I said, Hawk, why don't I remember that? I said, I was there one night. He said, yes, Baldy, you were there. But he says, I don't remember much of it. He says, I remember one guy speaking. He says, that's all I remember. He said, but look at it this way. We came in, everybody got checked out. We had an award ceremony. And he said, and the next day we were back out in the bush with 39 people for our whole company.
Yeah.
We had 39 people. And 30 of them were probably cherries.
How much longer did you stay with the company? How much longer were you with the company?
Until the end of, just about the end of September.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did much happen after that? Was it just quieter?
Yeah, there was contact. There was contact after that. It wasn't, of course, nothing compared to a 6-hour,
Yeah.
almost, a 6-hour gun-to-gun thing. Nothing like that happened. But yeah, there was contact. We had, they used some new stuff. They got Chinooks and put barrels of food gas on the Chinooks so they could just drop the tailgate down and just roll them down on them to blow them up, so we used that some. But yeah, no, there was contact. There was contact, and according to the records, Alpha Company probably did more damage to the NVA during those last few months than any of the other companies in the battalion.
And was Hawkins still commanding at that point?
Yeah, I think he was there. I don't know when he ETS'd. I don't think it was more than, well, it damn sure wasn't more than me. I mean, I was there to the end of September and he was still there.
Okay.
So it must have been maybe October or November or whatever.
And were you still close to Ripcord, or were you going down toward the Asia, or what was happening?
I don't really know what area they were in. I really don't.
Yeah.
In fact, those last few couple of months and that I was out there after Ripcord was over, I really don't have a real good recollection of them.
Yeah.
I know the new colonel came out and humped with us, and I respected him a lot for that because they never came out before. I mean,
Lucas didn't.
the highest thing in the field with us was a captain. We didn't have any colonels and stuff coming out there. No, Lucas didn't come out, but this guy came out and humped with us 2 different times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we got. Well, those 30 of those cherries would just about driving me wild anyway, because they would do stupid shit. This one guy stops and picks up a grenade that hadn't gone off, and he's looking at it. And I said, what the hell are you doing? Well, it's a dud. I said, put it down and come over here. And he came over. I said, listen, I'm going to tell you something. If you don't drop it, don't pick it up. Nothing. If you don't drop it, don't pick it up. Nothing. And I said, you can't do that around me no more. I said, if you want to blow yourself up, that's up to you. But I said, you don't pick up no more unexploded ordnances if I'm around. Yeah. And just, they would wake up at night. They would talk in their sleep. They would snore. Did you know, out of all the medicines they have for non-snoring, did you know that every one of us, nobody snored out there? After just a few days, nobody snored. Now you tell me how that happens. Yeah, it's weird, but yeah. And I spent my last, we went to Rakkasan, Firebase Rakkasan. We were having a little stand down there, and I had a tooth that swelled up, They drilled a hole in it, let it drain, and then I went back, and Top asked me to extend,
Mhm.
and I said, well, I said, let me tell you tomorrow, because I started to, because he said, we need experienced NCOs out here in the field, because all these guys are new. And I said, well, he's right about that. And then I thought, you also have a daughter that you've never seen.
Mhm.
So I told him, I said, I can't, Top. I said, I've got a daughter back in the world that I have never seen, and I'm going to make sure I do.
Mhm.
And he said, okay, no problem. So he came out to the fire base while we were on Rakkasan. And he told the CO, he says, you don't give him a rucksack. He's staying here, he has to stay here. And he said, well, you heard what he said, Baldy? I said, yeah. So I stayed on Rakkasan. He gave me a radio, and my job was to, he would call me up when the resupply bird was coming out to Rakkasan, to land on Rakkasan, to drop off, pick up, whatever they did, and then come on out to us. And he says, you got to go down there and make sure nobody steals anything off of it. Hell, I didn't know anybody stole anything off of it anyway, but it didn't matter.
Mhm.
He wasn't gonna let me go back out there.
Yeah.
And I didn't protest, And I went back, and all of a sudden I got a 15-day drop. So I got back to the company area as quickly as I could. I did a couple days of bunker guard. I talked to some of the new guys and tried to tell them about my experiences a little bit, and maybe what not to do, what to look for, whatever. And then I got out of there, went to Fubai. A plane pilot came by, says, I'm on my way to Cameron Bay. He says, I don't have any seats or anything in them, and we're going to be riding on the tail end of a typhoon. But if anybody wants to ride with me, they're welcome to. Everybody left. And it was a hell of a ride. That thing would just drop like 100 feet for nothing, just. And I smoked cigarettes all the way down there so I wouldn't throw up. And we got down there, we spent a couple days there. They searched our bags. They let me keep the NVA sandals, but I had a pith helmet, and he kept that. Oh, you can't have this. I said, what the hell are you talking about? It's just a hat, man. Well, you can't have this. I said, well, just make up any story you want to about it, Rimp, and I'm going home. Yeah.
All right. So at this point, you're going to get discharged, or?
Well, I'm going to another duty station.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you weren't. You just refused to extend in Vietnam.
Yeah.
But you have sort of the rest of your enlistment
Yeah.
to serve out. Okay. Now, do you get to go home first?
No. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course we got.
Yeah, they let you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And how was that?
That was strange. And my daughter was walking, man, and almost and making words and
Yeah.
stuff, and that was the highlight of my life when I saw her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then where do you have to go next?
I went to Fort Hood, Texas, or whatever they call it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where I re-enlisted to stay in the Army. I was in the UAW, okay? I worked for GM.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were having layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And they were almost laid off back to my starting date.
Yeah.
So I knew, if I'm out there and I'm laid off, I'm really going to be screwed up, and I didn't really feel ready to join regular people again.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went and talked to the re-enlistment guy, and I said, you know, I didn't know how it worked. He says, well, you can have a duty station or you can have an MOS. I said, well, I'll just stay in the infantry. I said, because I want to go to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
So that was done, and I went to Hawaii, and I was in the 25th Infantry for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
3 years. They actually sent some people to Hawaii right straight out of AIT.
Mm-hmm.
And I was part of the battalion cadre that trained them and gave them their AIT.
Mm-hmm.
And in into 72, 73, we were on alert to go to Israel.
Yeah, because you had the October War, the Yom Kippur War in '73. Yeah.
We had the trucks packed. They had us all in the battalion area. The only thing they had to do was tell us to get on the trucks, and they were taking us to the airport and straight on over. But it didn't happen because I think they beat them up pretty bad. The Egyptians, that is. Wasn't that the Egyptians? Was that Egypt?
Well, the Egyptians, they successfully broke across the Suez Canal, and then the Israelis counterattacked, and they both were persuaded to stop at that point.
Ah, okay. Well, anyway, I didn't have to go, and I was
Yeah.
glad. I was glad. I didn't know what the hell to do in the desert. And I got out. I went back. After Hawaii, boom, I'm back at Fort Campbell again.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. I told Freddie, I said, I'm lucky. He said, why is that? I said, I can wear a 101st patch on both sleeves. Because I served with them in combat, and it was my last duty station.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then after you get out of the Army, what did you do for a living?
I went back to General Motors,
Okay.
and they gave me my job back. So I worked at a bearing factory there for 20-something years.
Mm-hmm.
And my father died in 1993. So my mother lived in the house outside of Corinth, Mississippi,
Mm-hmm.
basically in the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I didn't think it was real safe for her to be out there, by herself. So I moved to another plant. I moved to the Bowling Green Corvette plant and finished my last. I went there in '96 and I retired in 2002.
So as you look back on the whole thing now, how do you think being in the Army affected you? What did you learn from it?
I learned how to take a hit. I'll tell you that. And I learned that democracy is not free. And you don't get to have it just because you think you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Democracy is something that we are constantly going to have to fight for, because it's not a concept that human beings even like, I don't think, sometimes.
Some of them don't.
Yeah. We're so money driven that it's pathetic. And boy, I'll tell you, you don't know how close you can get to people in combat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys out here, we always have some new guys that come in. We have guys, and it doesn't matter. Maybe if we hadn't seen them in 50 years, it's still the same connection. And I did make a connection to that. I think after it's all over with, that I ended up being a better human being. Now, to say that I had a better life, no, I can't say that. I can't say that at all. but I think I've become a better human being through all of it. Especially since I got an opportunity to be in the Ripcord Association. These guys started this from scratch just because of what we had to go through, and they did it to help the rest of us. I didn't find them until 2001. I didn't come to my first reunion in 2002, but I'm telling you what, the last 21 years of my life have been a dream to what the other 21 years were. You know, I was able to maintain, I went to work every day, I did what I needed to do to feed my family and all of that stuff, but I was lost in space. I was just lost in space. I thought you were supposed to forget this shit, you know? I see my dad, he was 70 years old. He was a World War II vet. He was with the 29th Infantry from D-Day all the way to Berlin. And I'm watching a World War II movie with him, and he's not there anymore. He's there. And I said, Dad, does it ever go away? He said, no, son, it doesn't. And I thought to myself, well, you've just screwed up 20 years. You're trying to forget something that you can't possibly do. You can't possibly forget. So you have to wear it. And we stick together. Anytime that if I don't feel well or if whatever, if I just need to talk. Hell, I've got 50, 60 phone numbers now. Boom, and there he is. Somebody that'll watch my back. Yeah.
All right. Well, the whole thing makes for one heck of a story. So thank you very much for taking the time to share it today.
Okay, I don't mind it at all, man.